Oh my goodness. Today, you are going to be blown away by the guest we have on the Disruptive Spark show today. Hello and welcome back. If you follow us, you know that we're here to disrupt a lot of inconsistencies, wrong messaging, and just unlock some secrets around the connection between stress and success. And today we have an amazing guest. I'm so honored to have her on the show with me today. I'm going to bring her in right now. Welcome, Marie. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hey, Sue.
Because Anne-Marie did kind of what I think everybody dreams about, right? She literally went to her employer and basically said, take this job and shove it. So if any of you have ever dreamed about being able to do that, Anne-Marie's going to tell her story, but it's going to take quite a twist and turn because, you know, that kind of knee-jerk reaction, going to your boss and doing that, remember, is a stress reaction. It's almost always a result of overwhelm, burnout. Anne-Marie, you're going to tell us like what your mental health state was when you came to this realization. And actually going to your boss and doing that is going to cause way more harm than good. So Anne-Marie's going to walk us through how she used faith and how she stepped out on faith and has built this brand new life and career for herself. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. We do know each other close to 25 years. And I have to say a couple of things first, because I think it's really important and it ties into the tools that I talk about. If anyone's listening to this and you're even remotely thinking about, oh my God, I would love to make a change like that. What I talk about and your connection with me ties right into it. So for all of our listeners, Sue and I met and we were essentially opening a new locations and a new market for a bank. And Sue was really responsible for making sure that all the folks that would be in these locations knew what they were doing, the whole learning piece of it. And I had to make sure that almost everything was like all completely set up. And so between the two of us and some other folks, we had to make it all happen. And I remembered 14th and 5th, we used to joke about, I wish we had reality TV. We would have shot like the real world, 15 people hired to open a bank and have every moment scrutinized, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes. And like with you know, a shoestring for a budget and 2 weeks to get it done. Yeah.
100%. But you and I clicked. And even though our lives may have taken like different paths, so to speak, in terms of geography and family and that sort of thing, we were absolutely on the same page and we never lost sight of each other. So I have to start by saying, Sue, thanks for never losing sight of me, because it's really important and you don't know when that's going to come in later on and really help you out. So we knew that. Here's what I also know as I look back at that time, because we were like growing in our careers and wanted more. Number one, we were performing, even right down to the costumes that we wore to, right?
Exactly. I was, yes, dressed to the part,
We might as well have been airline. They don't even use stewardess any longer. Stewardesses in red. And if you
oh my gosh.
If you could
pretending that we knew what we were doing. Yes, pretending.
I'm not built like a stewardess, so. And so I was squeezing myself into a costume. We were performing, but I know that now we were performing. I also know now I needed to be heard on some level. And I also know now that I didn't nearly know back then is that I have an incredible power within me to manifest and make stuff happen. Right? So
yeah, without a doubt.
But at that time in my career, and I don't know about you, I don't even know that I was in touch with the fear that ruled my world.
I couldn't have even told you the word manifest. I would have just discounted you out of hand. Because I'm in finance, we're in bank, like we don't do that. We do numbers, we do facts, we do, we don't do, man, I wouldn't have even like looked at you twice,
We broke the code by laughing a lot. Let's just face that. But
what I think we were doing is like, we were already compensating for this space, even though we didn't yet have the conscious awareness over why. And let's be honest, we were drawn to the excitement of it. Like, it is very exciting. If you are a person who loves grand openings, new hires, working for startups, then you have something within you that is very much fueled by the chaotic situations that you find yourself in. That was like the first big lesson I learned for myself. I was putting myself in those positions over and over. There was nothing wrong with what they were built for that. That's what they were designed to do. I was trying to make myself fit into that. That was the problem.
So, cut to the whole purpose and the story, right? That led to this change in the past year and a half or so of my life. For years, I kept trying to fit into that mold and perform. Well, no wonder I wasn't getting the audition of a lifetime. My act stunk, right? Because it wasn't mine. It wasn't real. And I was putting myself in situations like, anyway, I remember someone saying to me back at that time, hey, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I gave some answer like, I'd open an antique store. Snooze. And you know me well enough. We just got finished talking about grand openings.
Yeah.
That would be lovely to own an antique store. But again, it's not my DNA. This is about understanding. And it's the first thing. If you're even remotely feeling like, I don't like my job or I don't like this situation. And for me, the very first thing that I realized, I was waking up almost every morning crying about something. Mm-hmm. So the stress of the everyday, it was just kind of creeping in and creeps in mentally, physically, spiritually, all of that, right? And then all the things.
And you can tamp all that down for so long, right? But it's going to seep out in so many places. This is how you always, anyone, just listening, how do I get in tune with myself? How do you feel when you wake up? And what happens in a time of stress? Are you radioactive, right? Yeah. Like, do you burn hot? Like, that's your internal temperature. That's really what's happening for you. And getting in tune with that, Anne-Marie, I'm so glad you brought that up. First of all, I'm going to laugh. It's the heart of emotional intelligence. So we've been trying to teach emotional intelligence in the business world forever. Emotional intelligence is about actually feeling your emotions, not tamping them down, not pretending like they don't exist, but actually being able to feel, name, and identify your emotions. And so you knew this was happening, but you didn't really know the connection. You didn't understand the connection at that time. Okay. So you're waking up, you're crying. Like, how long did you do this?
In hindsight, I did it obviously way too long, but chronologically, I probably did it for several weeks. And interestingly enough, here was the catalyst. So one of the things that I like to do in the morning is I always like to either tap into something that's funny, just something that creates humor. I also like to tap into music. You know me, I'm a huge music fan. So just those things to get that positive energy flowing. And there's a woman that I was friends with on social media, and she always posted the funniest jokes. And I thought to myself, well, I haven't seen any of her jokes for a while. And I went to her page, and this was July. She had apparently passed away a couple of months before. I was probably so engrossed in my job and everything that was going on that I had no clue. I'm already tapping into the tears on a daily, right? Even if it's just for a couple of minutes. And Sue, something just kicked off in me that just told me this is not what it's supposed to be like. And honestly, that morning was the catalyst for the change.
I love that, right? There's always, usually from a disruption, there is an outside force, an outside influence that just snaps through, right? You were ready for it. That's what I always tell people. You were ready. Sometimes people say, oh, I waited too long. I feel so guilty. How come I stayed? You stayed because you were supposed to. When you're ready, and you'll know. And the catalyst will be there for you. The catalyst is always around you. But when you finally see it, it's because it's time for you. So I love that. That is such a powerful moment that spoke to you. And then what happened?
So look, for me, having to operate, and admittedly, I operated in the knee jerk because I stayed in it for so long. But I knew a few things, and I knew, number one, I had a network of people, especially a network of women, that I immediately could bounce off my ideas. Like, I thought to myself, if I could do anything right now, what would I do? And the first thing that came to my mind was, I got to stop this hamster wheel and get off so I can breathe for a minute and then figure out the rest. So I had to take a look at my financial snapshot and see, did I have the ability? What were my options in those terms? And you know what? Fortunately, I believe when there's a will, there's a way. And then immediately I started tapping into women that I knew were going to give me great feedback, not give me, oh, you're doing the right thing. You're so right. You deserve that. BS. This is about, okay, listen, I am about to make a gigantic life change. Okay. And you were one of the people that I reached out to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it doesn't even have to be somebody who's like inside, like
I don't think we talked in maybe years when you reached out to me. And, that's what I want. Like, I want to just pause 1 second in your story, because a couple of things are really valuable for people to really hear and to understand. When you're in a space where things are not working for you, the default reaction for many people is to go inside. It's embarrassing. It's uncomfortable, right? And I love that you flipped the script on that and you said, no way, I am not making this level of decision by myself. I got to find somebody. I got to find a bunch of people. And I want people that are going to tell me the truth. I want them, you got those friends that'll tell you when you have like salad and you're like, I need those people. I need this is what I had my mug. I have mugs for certain things. I don't know if you can read this one, but I like to consider myself the kind friend. I am the person you call when you want the truth. Because I think the truth is kind, and I deliver truth very compassionately. So I love that. I'm thrilled that I was on your list, and I love that you are setting this example of going inside is not the answer. You don't have the answer inside of you. It is outside of you, and you need to do that.
Now, if I had the hindsight and did not work up to the knee-jerk reaction, some of the things that I probably should have asked myself deeper was, what's really going on here? Let's go deep. Let's go inside for a minute. What is going on here? What do I know about me? Right? Like, take that time. Then, before we make a knee-jerk reaction, is the organization right for me? Is the job right? Is this the ideal opportunity? Like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Remember here, like, you don't have to like go down the path that I did.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
However, you have to do a little work before then, or you will end up right at that path. And then I can help you with that too. However, if you can do the work up front, why wouldn't you? Okay.
And if I could add one little nugget onto that, is that you will just go find the same job.
Well,
whatever the situation is in the current job, you're a part of the problem. And the second you decide that's true, you get to be a part of the solution. So people jump ship all the time expecting it to be different, but you take yourself wherever you go.
Well, or please consider this.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself, what happens if I do absolutely nothing and stay right where I am? And I will remind you that your check engine light is on.
That's a good one.
Now you already know, right? I'm already not feeling this. Something's right. Okay. You can decide to not do a thing, but your check engine.
We know what the outcome of that is. That's, when everybody's screaming about high turnover, burnout, like that is like that right there, like anyone from an organizational standpoint, ask this one question in your company. Ask this one question to every person you see. Where's your gas tank right now? Are you full? Are you at halfway? Is your light on? Because that is a direct correlation to your internal energy for work. Love that.
that's the next question that ties into that. What's
Mm-hmm.
my timeline here? Where's my tank? Right? Don't be like me. I run it all the way to when it's in that red. Go to the gas station right now. But what's your timeline? And then if you almost look at it like a pyramid, right? That's the foundational stuff, that understanding. The next level is, who is my support system? What's my financial position? What are my magic numbers? And how's my timeline looking?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so,
without a doubt, these are the realities of life. Listen, I read posts all the time. I'm always looking for, like, what's the real story? What are people really saying? Like, if you're looking for it, you'll find it. It's everywhere. And I hear this phrase all the time. I don't want to leave this job, but I can't take this anymore. Or what they say is, I need this job. Like, let's be honest. We have lives that they require money. They require, things that the job provides for us. So realistically being able to say, well, I'm just not going to do this anymore. Like, it's not possible. So you have to have the real conversation. Where's the money going to come from? How am I going to support myself during this transition? We had a little side conversation. I'm a definitely blow everything up kind of person, which has, positives and, ramifications to it. And I was talking about a previous business of mine that was the majority of the money we made in the organization. And I just thought that I shut it down. And I said, if I were to, like, ask myself again, would I do that? I wouldn't have. So I love you took such a different approach. You analyzed all those things.
Yep. And then the top of that kind of pyramid, if you will, right? So you do that work, you get that understanding, you rationalize, you know who your support system is, you know what you need to survive, because we do live in an economic structure. You're in touch with your timeline. Now, what are you going to do? This is the manifest part, Sue. This is where
it gets juicy.
This is where it's faith. Whatever your faith is in, could be something outside of you, could be right inside of you, faith in your own ability, but it's manifesting. What does that opportunity look like, right? Who will you leverage to help get you there? And that's the thing you can't lose sight. I started by saying we did not lose sight of each other. Thank you for not losing sight. This is why you don't lose sight, because you're going to need that person down the line, right? And to be able to, like, tap into that. So, Sue, what would you do, right? So when I reached out to you, and I didn't want to blur because if you ask 50 different people, you're going to get 50 different opinions. I chose about 8 different women who were all different from me, who I respected, who I knew were going to give it to me straight. That's honestly how you got chosen that day.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Right? So that would be my suggestion. Like, do you have a group of people in your network that are not just like you, will not just give you the story that you want to hear, are not involved in your daily, so that they can give you a complete, non-subjective outside opinion? And all of you were all located off in different places. And then you introduced me to a key partner who would be instrumental in actually manifesting the change.
I have, like, chills running up and down, because you just described basically the entire Disruptive Spark process, right? And it is the process of arriving to success without having to sacrifice yourself, or all the other things that we do to get there. However you want to use the word manifest. The one part I would just want to comment on is there are always 2 people. And I want to equate this to business development, because I think we often lose sight of it, right? So what we want is the sale, right? We want the end result. But there's 2 things that need to happen before you get there. A, you have to be willing to be visible, to be seen, and to be heard. I think that's what you were talking about. B, you have to make connections, because it's the connections that open the door to, I'm going to use the word, unlimited possibility. So A, opens the door to unlimited possibility. And you're proof that it works. So give us like the next step. So you officially resign. Like how did all that work? Like when did you decide to do that?
So I'm close to that retirement age, but not exactly yet. I'm not ready to stop working, but I was able to, quote unquote, retire from that job. So I did that, and I immediately took the advice of a friend who said, start to network, make a list of like 50 people and begin to network with all 50 of them. Carve out a few every day. And when you get to the bottom of the 50, call number 1 again. Right?
And I love that. Oh my God, I love that.
And here's the truth. I never had to get through all 50. I was able to tap into people like yourself, former bosses, all different levels, former executives, former colleagues, former people who were subordinate, who worked for me, who were at lovely places in their careers 20 plus years later. And I was able to, and I still am, I'm monetizing my experience in the banking industry as my own consultant. And so I am able to do work that brings me passion, still work with people that brings me passion, but not under those same kind of like stressful time and sales bound goals. And I get to be my boss, and I get to do that either from here in Florida or near my family in Pennsylvania, which at this point in my life is number 1 priority.
I mean, bravo. This is a masterclass right here. Like this is a masterclass on how to retire. And the one thing I would add to it is I think everyone should retire 4 or 5 times in their life. I think this notion, right, that retirement is at the end of your career is the biggest disruption that we could make for people of all time. Yep. Are you retiring yourself over and over and over again? And I'm going to use your words. I think they are amazing. And how do you monetize and reinvent that expertise into its next shape and form? And
my dad retired. My dad retired twice.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, he loved the second career, which was so much shorter in time, Sue. He loved his second career so much more than his first career.
Oh my gosh.
His first career afforded us a life, believe me. But his second career afforded him joy.
Oh my God. Oh, you're going to make me cry. I would tell you the same thing about my father. And I would also put my mother in there too. My father's school teacher, and 35 years, that's what, kept us a stable, healthy life, has, good for him in retirement. But when he retired, became an author. And he's been a speaker and author on his passion. And I will tell you again, most joyful part of his life. And that's what I'm saying, like, retire 4 or 5 times. Like, if you think of it that way, the first job is never the joyful one. It's the one that you do to get where you want to be, right? The second job, right? I want to actually change the word job. The second manifestation of your skills and expertise, right? And then the third manifestation of that, and then the fourth manifestation of that, that's where you get to the deeper levels of peace and joy. And it's also a life situation, right? Like, sometimes you are in a position, like I'm thinking of a very good friend whose husband was, growing the business, and it takes a long time to really make a business profitable. I don't think people truly understand the sacrifice, the financial implications. And so she had the good job, and she was funding their life. She was not necessarily happy in her space, but she knew she needed to hold there because there was value in it for her. And so, certain places in your life, certain circumstances, I think we always looked at career and longevity in career as just a one uphill, line. And you're proof positive in this conversation. It should be going like this. for as long as you can allow it. And I think the environment has finally caught up with that. You know, one of the benefits of COVID is this more fluid environment was never possible. When I left my second career in 2008, when I was home with my son on maternity leave, I was, left my big, career and reinvented myself as a real estate agent and a stay-at-home mom. And I didn't really mean to do that, by the way. It just happened. Well, actually, I would change that, but that's for a conversation for another day. But what I found was that I didn't even need all of the things I thought I needed. But my life was different. So my situation was different. And, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, all right, before we wrap up this conversation, because I think this is really the core of where we wanted to get, how did faith play a role in this for you? At what point did faith be the thing that kept you moving from point A to point B? Or was it some other way? Tell us how that came into play for you.
Well, I think faith has always been an integral part of my life. So I don't see that as any different related to the career change. When I just think of every major decision in my life, every relationship decision, financial decision, I have absolutely always been tied to my faith in a power greater than myself, right? Some people choose to call that God. On most days, I like to call that the universe, right? But I absolutely know I'm guided by something much bigger than me, and I'm here for a purpose way greater than I can even imagine in my self-centered brain. So I've just always kind of operated on this, I'm going to step out into the unknown. And no matter what happens, that's the last piece that I would always say to everybody, don't be afraid and always have you don't need a solid plan B, but you need to be confident enough to be able to call an audible to say, if something's not working in the direction you feel it's supposed to, have that faith, take a turn. This is a long game. This stepping out on faith, this navigating your life and manifesting, it might sound microwave. I assure you it's not. And I've learned that about me. Although I love instant gratification, my sweet spot's in the long game. So, that's where it comes in, right? That's your partner. For me, it's my partner on the long game.
I love it. I love it. I think this kind of conversation, being able to talk about faith a little bit more freely than we typically have been in the past, is a very powerful space for the corporate world to decide how they can let that into the conversation. I encourage anyone who has their own beliefs and uses faith in their life to find ways to allow that to guide you in your work as well, and to blur those lines a little bit more. I know we have separation of church and state, but church and faith are actually two very different things. So we can be very faithful and not have to talk about religion, which is very divisive. So for anyone that is looking for permission, I hope you see this as your permission to be open. You will be amazed at how people show up for you because they're desperate to have this conversation too. And they're waiting for someone to just be brave enough to do it. And if this is new for you, I invite you to explore faith in different religions. I have spent a lot of time learning about different religions outside of my own and how their faith has been a huge part of their success. And that has been wildly engaging and exciting and so helpful for me in all of my journeys as well. So Anne-Marie, I'm going to give you the last word. Riding out of here, if people just are catching at the very end and you could leave them with, one thought for their own situation right now, what would it be?
You have the power within inside you to make anything happen, right? To manifest your wildest dreams. Tap into that and tap into the people around you who will get you there and will help get you there.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for spending time on the Disruptive Spark show. There were so many good things in here, and I love you, my friend. Thank you.